The soil is frozen solid. Your breath turns to fog the moment you speak. And everywhere online, people tell you the same lie. You need a heated greenhouse to grow food in winter. That lie has made millions of gardeners quit before they even begin. Because here's the truth no one likes to admit. In deep winter, sunlight is weak. Days are short. Even the best grass greenhouse becomes an expensive refrigerator unless you pump it full of electricity. Yet somehow, 400 years ago, people harvested lettuce, cabbage, even melons, while snow lay thick on the ground. No heaters, no plastic, no extension cords. So how did they do it? They didn't trap heat, they created it. In the 1600s, French and English market gardeners discovered something revolutionary. Rotting organic matter produces more reliable warmth than the sun itself. When bacteria break down manure and straw, they release massive amounts of energy, steady, predictable heat that lasts for weeks. They built what were called hotbeds, not compost piles, not greenhouses, living biological furnaces buried beneath the soil. While kings froze in stone castles, gardeners were cutting salads in February. Today, we call winter growing impossible. They called it routine. In this video, we resurrect the manure hotbed, the same system used during the Little Ice Age, and test whether ancient biology can still outperform modern technology. Because if this works, winter gardening stops being expensive and starts being inevitable. A hotbed is not heated by sunlight. It is powered by microbes. Everything depends on the fuel you use, and most people get this part completely wrong. You cannot use old compost. You cannot use dry manure. You cannot use garden waste alone. What you need is fresh horse manure mixed with straw. Horse manure is unique. Horses don't digest efficiently, which means their waste still contains enormous amounts of partially broken plant fiber. Add straw bedding soaked with urine, and you get the perfect combination of nitrogen and carbon. This mixture creates bacterial chaos. When microbes attack that material, their metabolism explodes. Internal temperatures climb rapidly, often reaching 140 to 160 degrees Fahrenheit within days. This is not slow composting. This is biological combustion. That heat doesn't spike for a few hours. It holds steady for 3 to 6 weeks, long enough to germinate seeds, push roots deep, and keep soil warm even while snow piles on top. Freshness is critical. If the manure has already composted, the energy is gone. You want it steaming, warm, sharp-smelling, alive. The ideal mix looks messy, manure clumps tangled with straw, slightly wet but not dripping. If you grab a handful and squeeze, it should feel springy, not muddy. Straw is not optional. Without it, the manure compacts too tightly and suffocates the microbes. With it, oxygen channels form, allowing controlled heat instead of a violent burn. This is why horse manure was prized for centuries. Cow manure runs too cold. Chicken manure burns too fast. Horse manure sits perfectly in the middle, powerful, steady, and predictable. Think of this layer not as fertilizer, but as an engine. You are not feeding plants yet. You are building a fire that runs without flame. And once that living furnace is buried beneath your bed, winter stops being the enemy, because the heat is rising from below, exactly where plants need it most. Once you have the fuel, you don't pile it on top of the soil like compost. You bury the engine. The old gardeners understood something modern systems forget. Heat rises. If you place the source beneath the root zone, the warmth moves upward naturally, exactly where seedlings need it. Start by digging a trench about 18 inches deep. It doesn't need to be wide. 3 to 4 feet across is perfect, but depth matters. Too shallow and the heat escapes. Too deep and the warmth never reaches the plants. This trench is your combustion chamber. Into it goes the fresh manure and straw mixture, layer by layer. As you fill, you must compress it. This step looks strange, but is essential. If the material is fluffy, it burns too fast and collapses within days. If compacted firmly, it releases heat slowly and evenly. Old manuals described gardeners literally jumping inside the pit to stomp the manure flat. They weren't being dramatic. Compression controls the burn rate. Once the trench is filled to ground level, cap it with 6 to 8 inches of good soil or compost. This layer is not for nutrition, it is insulation and protection. It shields plant roots from excessive heat while allowing warmth to diffuse gently upward. At this stage, the bed will already begin to warm. If you push a thermometer down through the soil, you may see temperatures climbing hour by hour. Steam often rises faintly from the surface on cold mornings. That is not decay, that is power. Finally, place a simple frame over the bed. Wood is enough. Old windows are perfect. Even oiled canvas or clear plastic stretched tightly will work. The frame's job is not heating, it is wind protection. The real heater is underground. Within 24 hours, your winter bed is alive. This is where most people fail. They plant too early. Fresh manure does not start gently, it erupts. During the first phase of decomposition, temperatures can spike high enough to kill roots instantly. Worse, ammonia gas is released as nitrogen breaks down. Invisible, silent, lethal to seedlings. If you plant immediately, your hotbed becomes a vegetable crematorium. The old gardeners had a rule: never plant during the first rage. After construction, you must wait. For the first 2 to 4 days, the temperature will climb aggressively. It may exceed 120 degrees Fahrenheit in the soil layer. You might smell sharp ammonia when opening the frame. That smell is your warning sign. During this period, do nothing. Let the microbes burn themselves into balance. Eventually, the bed settles. Temperatures fall and stabilize between 65 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Perfect root warmth, even while the air above remains freezing. This moment is critical. Once the heat stabilizes and the ammonia smell disappears, the dragon is tamed. Now the hotbed becomes gentle, constant, and unbelievably reliable. Unlike electric heaters that cycle on and off, microbial heat never stops, day and night, snow or sun, wind or calm. Roots stay warm, leaves tolerate cold, growth continues while the rest of the world sleeps. This is the secret that allowed gardeners to raise cabbage in January and start summer crops weeks before spring even existed. They weren't fighting winter, they were growing under it. Once the hotbed is running, most beginners make one final mistake. They cook their plants alive. Because now you have 2 heat sources working together, the biological furnace below and the sun above. Even weak winter sunlight can turn your frame into an oven in minutes. This is why historic hotbeds always had one sacred law: if it's above freezing outside, you vent. During the day, internal temperatures can spike rapidly. What feels like mild warmth outdoors can translate into 35 to 40 degrees Celsius inside the frame. Leaves wilt, growth stops, fungal problems appear, not from cold, from excess heat and trapped humidity. The solution is simple and ancient. Lift the lid slightly, prop it open with a stick. Even 1 inch is enough. This allows hot air and ammonia remnants to escape while keeping the soil warm. Think of the hotbed like breathing lungs, closed at night, open during the day. Every morning, you check 3 things: soil temperature, your hand works fine. It should feel warm, not hot. Condensation dripping from the lid, and plant posture. Upright means happy. Limp means overheated. When nights drop below freezing, close it tight again. The manure heat will carry the plant safely through until morning. What can you grow? Leaf crops thrive first: spinach, lettuce, mache, arugula, Asian greens, cabbage, kale. And yes, even melons and cucumbers were historically started this way in mid-winter, transplanted later into outdoor beds weeks ahead of everyone else. While neighbors wait for April, your plants already have a month-long head start. The bed will stay warm for 4 to 8 weeks, depending on manure quality and compression. As heat slowly fades, it transitions naturally into a cold frame, extending your season without rebuilding anything. Nothing is wasted. We live surrounded by energy and still pay electric bills to grow food. The medieval gardener had no thermostat, no plastic, no wiring, only biology. Rotting straw, animal waste, microbes doing what they have done for millions of years, turning decay into warmth. This method fed cities during the Little Ice Age. It produced vegetables while rivers froze and snow buried the fields. And it still works today exactly as it did 400 years ago. Winter gardening isn't about fighting cold, it's about understanding heat. The next time someone tells you food can't be grown in January, remember this: beneath your feet, decomposition never stops. Free heat is everywhere if you know how to wake it up. Subscribe to the Garden Lore Vault. We're bringing the forgotten knowledge back to life.